Hi, my name's Steve. Welcome to another Mindbomb Training video. Today I want to share with you my top tips for how to improve your productivity. So if you're struggling to get focused and really keep the business moving, then the idea is to be able to run through these, and hopefully we should be able to see whether you can improve your productivity. The first thing I was going to mention is to do with where productivity and the concept of productivity comes from. It was actually coined by the economist Adam Smith, and dates from the Industrial Revolution in the UK, where he actually studied a number of factories to discover how they were using teams to increase their production and therefore their sales and profits for whatever they were making. I believe he was actually studying factories that were making nails and pins, that kind of thing. So fairly basic stuff, but he actually found that by breaking the teams down into smaller numbers of people, that they could actually increase the output significantly than they would if the whole team was basically doing the same thing on a repeat basis. And what he said was that the key to the increase in productivity is the specialisation and division of labour. And that's really what we've got to keep in mind when we're thinking about how to increase our productivity nowadays. How do we specialise and divide the processes that we do to make ourselves more productive in the way that we go about them? If we look at the way that you can actually be more productive these days, it essentially comes from the same ideas. So you have to look at the tasks that you're doing and how best that you can divide them up, so that you can either specialise yourself, or that you can go out to specialists, or maybe other people within your company that can then divide up the tasks and do those various different tasks, hopefully in a more skilled and more productive way themselves. But also then to make your time easier to focus on the things that you do best, so on your special skills effectively. The first tip that I have, tip number one, is to do your own time and motion study. People become set in the ways of how they actually work each day. So if you divide up your regular working week, firstly into days, and then within that day, keep a diary of exactly what you do for every 10-minute block of the day, basically in the way that accountants or solicitors would do in large practices, where they have to account for every minute of their time as to which client is going to get billed for it, basically. But if you work the same way and dedicate those various 10-minute blocks and work out exactly what you've done, even if it's only making coffee or chatting to a colleague or whatever it may be, record exactly what you're doing each day, because that will then give you the baseline data that you need to work out exactly where you're spending most of your time in the week. Because I'm sure if I asked you now, you couldn't tell me exactly what you'd done last week or the week before, and what really soaks up the time within those days. So start with your own time and motion study. Once you've got that baseline of data, you can then decide on which things that you can maybe outsource, if you like. So either to other staff within your company or to outside contractors. We're all used to the idea of dealing with outside bookkeepers or accountants, solicitors, that kind of thing. But there's all sorts of other people. There's obviously graphic designers, website designers, social media managers now. So there's lots of other people that work on a freelance basis that you can subcontract a lot of work to. And once you've actually identified, firstly, your special skills, what you enjoy doing, and then also the things that you find a bit of a slog and that are repetitive, but soak up a lot of your own time. So once you've actually got that data, you can then work out which things you want to focus on, and which things that you can actually outsource, pass on to somebody else who hopefully will be more specialist and do a better job of it. Top tip number two, keeping a diary. I'm amazed at how many people don't actually keep a decent diary, either for immediate appointments, or even for things longer term into the future. So many small business owners that I've come across really just try to keep everything juggled in their head. And nowadays that is so difficult to do. Really, it's so much more important to plan forward because it helps you in a number of ways. If you keep a proper diary, then you can actually push things together that are similar jobs. So if you have, for instance, an interview, a series of interviews for a job, you're not going to do those on all different days. Much better to actually concentrate them all in one day, get the effort focused, get your interview head on, and just run through them. It's so much better that way. And the same with any other tasks. If you're going to have a round of discussions with suppliers, why not do it all on the same day? Get your supplier head on and just get them all through in one day. And then you can focus on that particular task in hand. Equally, if you have a diary running and maybe you have what they call grasshopper tendencies, and you're prone to skipping between one thing and another, then the diary will actually help stop that, because you're already committed to certain things across the week. So it will stop you getting distracted so much if you've got particular dates and times that you have to do certain things. So whether it's a electronic diary or an old-fashioned old school diary, then whichever you do, keep a proper diary to keep control of the time that you commit to. So tip number 3, for me, to-do lists. I love a list. It's a very satisfying thing to actually go through a to-do list once you've actually done a series of tasks. You can cross things off, it's great, you can actually feel like you're getting somewhere. But I've looked at various different forms of productivity software, and essentially the key part of it is the to-do list. So for me, I use a number of different ones. I use the one on the smartphone, so I've got a regular list that's rolling there, but also I use other things for particular jobs, or even just notes that I actually jot down as the thing occurs to me. So you end up with a pile of other notes, but sometimes it's useful to take a few minutes out and just do like a brain dump of everything that's spinning around your mind, all the things that you're thinking of what you've got to do. Get that organised, get it down into a to-do list, and make sure that you can then, again, break down the jobs to things that you've actually got to do yourself that are important for you, and also those that maybe you can pass on, delegate to other people. And again, come back to that idea of specialisation. If you can divide up the jobs that you've got to do, so much the better. You'll actually get through them that much more quickly. But keep a to-do list so that you can actually record all of that, and then have the satisfaction of crossing them through once you've actually done whatever it is that you've listed down. Along the same lines, point number 4, tip number 4, along the same lines is the time blocks. Once you start using a diary properly, you can block out certain parts of the day, or maybe once a week, whatever it is for yourself. Then you can block out that particular time that you're going to focus on a certain thing. So whether that may be, if you're a designer, maybe you specialise in early mornings, you want to actually be most creative, or maybe at the end of the day, whatever it is. If it suits you best, then block out that time for what you need to do. So no interruptions. Tell the staff that work with you don't want to be interrupted during those times, and just focus on that particular job. Make sure that is what you do during that time block. And obviously you can't just block out every day of the week, but at certain times it brings that particular job into focus for you, and hopefully makes you much more productive during that time as well. Equally, blocks can be a very good solution for people that actually have to have regular meetings, maybe with staff or whatever it may be. Then if you've got a certain time block for a particular staff meeting, maybe once a week, maybe even once a month, or whatever it is, if you do it at the same time and keep it on a regular basis, then people are more likely to come prepared and focused, ready to get on with that meeting, whatever it is. But make sure that you've actually blocked out that time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, whatever it may be, then you can dedicate your time, they can get focused and dedicate their time to it. And that way, again, it's a good specialisation. You focus on that particular job in hand. So, tip number 5, communication. Really the key to this is how to organise your communication. We've got so many different ways and so many people that we need to communicate with. The obvious ones are communications with customers, and whether it may be social media updates, website updates, that kind of thing. But you also need to communicate on an ongoing and repeat basis with suppliers, with staff, any of the stakeholders within the business. So make sure that you organise the communication properly. It's important to actually have a follow through. So if you're going to release a new product, if you're going to do a new product launch, obviously you're going to update the website, you're going to announce it to your customers, but make sure that that flows through. The communication strategy should follow through then for the people within your business, the stakeholders within your business, but also the suppliers. If you're going to anticipate a particular increase in a new type of item or product, then you need to be able to flow that right the way through to the supply chain as well. As your business grows, then it can become more of an issue with communicating with staff too. You can spend a lot of time having the same conversations, or maybe conversations that you had just a few months ago with staff. So it can be very useful if you can organise your staff communications in one place, whether that's on a shared platform, shared email system, so that you can actually catch all of the staff in one go. Equally, as the business grows, you might have more issues with communicating with staff. So it can be very useful if you have a reference area for staff to go back to, where you've actually got all of your previous communications, memos or whatever it is with staff on all of the range of subjects that you deal with. Then if the same thing comes up again, you can actually refer someone back to it, and it can save you a lot of time going through the same discussion again and same written communication maybe. So create yourself a staff area so that you've actually got that library that you can refer them back to. And also it can be very useful for you to see what you've actually covered before, and then you can actually make sure that you're not duplicating the effort again. Generally about communication, it can be a very useful outsource area. If it's a small business that you run, then maybe someone within the business can actually look after that for you. But again, look at the idea of having a social media manager or a freelance communications manager so that they can schedule the communications. They'll come back to you to make sure that everything's approved and it's in your tone of voice, as they say in the communications business. But make sure that they can come up with the bulk of the information that you're looking to put forward. So all the writing, all of that heartache and head scratching can be avoided if you actually outsource the communications part of the business. So those are the top 5 tips to improve your productivity. Basically, if you can follow those, then you should be able to see yourself much more productive and hopefully not so busy. So finally, as a summary, then remember the key to the productivity is that specialisation and division of labour. If you can apply that to what you do yourself, then you should actually find that you're much more productive in what you do each day, and hopefully your staff will be more productive too, following the same principles. So yeah, I hope you take that forward and it makes a difference for you. If you like what you've seen today, then don't forget to subscribe and also click on the bell so that we'll send you notifications when the new videos come out. And of course, if you would like to share the video to anyone else, then if you can think of anyone else that would appreciate it, make sure to share the link and have a look at everything else that we've done. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.